Hello and welcome. Today we're going to tackle 12 really common expressions that all use one tiny but super powerful word, all. You know, getting these phrases right is kind of like a secret weapon for making your English sound way more natural and fluent. So, you ready? Let's jump in.
It's a great question, isn't it? Because fluency isn't always about memorizing these huge, complicated words. A lot of the time, it's about really mastering the small, everyday language that native speakers just use without even thinking about it. And as you're about to see, all is a key ingredient in some of the most useful phrases out there.
So, to make these really easy to remember, I've split them up into 4 simple categories. First up, we're looking at expressions we use to talk about people, groups, and, well, sometimes just total and complete chaos. Okay, our first phrase, the be-all and end-all. This describes the absolute best of something, the ultimate goal or the perfect example. So, for instance, if you think an actor is just perfect, you could say, for me, Cameron Diaz is the be-all and end-all. It just means she's the standard, the very best there is.
We've all met one of these, right? A know-it-all. And the most important word here is believes. A know-it-all is someone who thinks they have all the answers, and they just will not admit when they're wrong. It's such a great descriptive term for that particular type of person.
Now, this next phrase, from all walks of life, is such a nice way to talk about diversity. It just means people from all different social and economic backgrounds. You could say something like, the gym I go to has people from all walks of life. We've got plumbers, doctors, teachers, you name it. It just paints this really clear picture of a mixed community.
And this phrase, this perfectly describes a scene of absolute chaos. A free-for-all is a situation with no rules where everyone is just scrambling to get what they want for themselves. The classic example is a Black Friday sale in America, People grabbing TVs, fighting over the last gadget. It is a complete free-for-all.
And speaking of chaos, that actually brings us perfectly to our next category, because sometimes you need to put in some serious effort. It's time to learn some phrases about going all out.
So part 2, effort and action. These are the phrases you're going to want to use when you are giving it absolutely everything you've got. So to go all out basically means you are not holding anything back. You're pouring all of your energy, your enthusiasm, your resources into something. The source for this explainer gave a fantastic example. When I host Halloween parties, I go all out. The walls have blood on them. There are skeletons everywhere. Now that is definitely going all out.
This next one is pretty similar, but with a little twist. To pull out all the stops means using every single resource you have to get something done. And here's a fun fact. This phrase actually comes from old pipe organs. The stops are the knobs that control the airflow, and when you pulled them all out, the organ played at its absolute loudest, most powerful volume. So when the police pull out all the stops, they're using every tool they have.
And here's a quote from our source that adds a bit of real-world, kind of funny context. It shows that just because you can pull out all the stops, well, it doesn't always happen. It's the perfect contrast to that ideal scenario we just talked about.
Oh, I'm pretty sure many of us have been here before. To pull an all-nighter means staying awake the entire night to finish something, usually for work or school. Like, I pulled an all-nighter writing this essay and I still got a rubbish grade. A truly painful, but yeah, a very common experience.
Okay, let's move on to our third category. These next few phrases are perfect for when you want to express a strong opinion or talk about what's popular and trendy.
When you want to show that you are 100% behind an idea, you can say you are all for it. This phrase often suggests that the idea might be a little controversial or not everyone's on board. For instance, I am all for banning petrol and making everybody use wind power. It signals you have really strong personal support for that idea.
This is a great little insult for someone who just doesn't follow through. To be all talk is a shorter way of saying all talk and no action. It perfectly describes that flaky friend who promises they'll help you move, but then never actually shows up. And this slide just breaks it down perfectly. The whole idea of being all talk is that huge gap between what a person says they'll do and what they actually do. The words are there, but the action is nowhere to be found. Now, if something is all the rage, it means it's incredibly popular and trendy right at this moment. It's a phrase that's really tied to a specific time. You might look back and say, do you remember when thin eyebrows were all the rage? It immediately puts that trend into a specific era.
All right, we're on the home stretch with our final 2 expressions. And these are super useful for wrapping things up. either by putting an event into a time frame or just by making a final summary statement.
All along simply means from the very start of a situation. It's often used when some kind of hidden truth is finally revealed. Like in a dramatic movie when you find out she'd been planning to leave him all along. It totally reframes the entire story up to that point.
And finally, all in all. This is the perfect phrase to pull out when you're about to summarize your thoughts. It means on the whole, or in general. So you could look back over the last year and say, there were some ups and downs, but all in all, it's been a good year.
So there you have it. We've covered phrases you can use to describe people, to show effort, to share your opinions, and to wrap up a conversation. These are some incredibly versatile tools you can start using, like today. And that brings us to the end. You now have 12 powerful new expressions ready to go. So the only question left is, which one are you going to try out first? Because actually using them is the best way to make them stick. Thanks so much for tuning in.